Welcome back to another video of this course. This video will be quite long because we are going to cover the topic, or we are going to merge the topic which we have covered in our previous video. So in this entire course, since the starting, we covered all or most of the REST concept, and after that we cover all the Hibernate concept, writing a basic API and storing information into our database. Now in upcoming videos, our focus will be integrating REST API and Hibernate. So for this, we are going to create our new project. Those who haven't watched the previous REST API and Hibernate videos, they can go and watch it out. So for them, it will be easier to understand. Now let's straight jump into our coding. So we'll come to our website, startspring.io. We will select our build tool, which will be Maven, and we'll use the default latest version. Whenever you are viewing this video, whatever is the latest, always it will by default it will select the most stable release, so always use that one. We'll define our group ID. We will add our dependency, so we will add our web, we will add our JPA, we will add our what we need to add our driver. Even though we are using a Spring Data JPA, we will understand Hibernate, because Spring Database is implementation of Hibernate, whereas we see, so we'll start from Hibernate. Even though we have covered our concept of Hibernate earlier, but we will still use Hibernate concept, because then only you will understand the core how things work. Then we will move into JPA and then Spring Data JPA. So let us download our project. Our project will be downloaded in our download folder. So we will unzip our project, and then we will move our project from download to our workspace. We will close, and then we will move back to our, we will close our start.spring.io website. We will open that project which we have downloaded. So for some system it might take time for it to download the jar, because usually if all those Maven dependencies are already available, it will load fast, whereas sometimes it takes time, because usually if you are doing it for the first time. So now once we have our project loaded, we will see all the dependency. So we have added our Spring Web for our REST API, Spring JPA for our Hibernate, and our Spring our Postgre for our database driver. Now I will create one more video to understand POM, because this is quite basic POM. There are complications when you see a enterprise level POM, even though this is also an enterprise level, but there are certain things which for you to understand how POM structure works, that I will do it later on. So now we'll expand our project. So our main class is here, and then our resources will have our application.property file. I think if you have noticed that earlier this default thing don't come in, but after certain version upgrades, Spring now giving the application name by default in our application.property. Earlier this feature was not available, so they don't have it. So some people define it, some people don't define it, but anyhow now they give by default. So first thing we need to do is, because you need to make sure that if you are running your database in whichever port, you cannot use that port. So my database, or even though even a service is running in some different port, you cannot use that same port. So I think we'll leave it for later for you to show it, but anyhow, we cannot use 8080. By default, they use 8080. So we will change our server dot port equals to 9090. Later, we will understand. So before moving forward, we also need to set up our database specs. Database integration will be the same, but we will create a separate database for this project. And even though here we already cover REST and Hibernate concept separately, here we are going to build a small project where we will learn a lot of things. So if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. You will definitely learn a lot and you will definitely grow. Database. Usually many I have seen property, even we will also cover application.yaml, but for now we are using application.property. There is no rocket science in that, but you need to know how to use both. So we will write spring.jpa Hibernate should DBC PostgreSQL. Earlier we are using default database which is provided by Postgre when we have set up, but for now we are going to use our separate database. Okay, so we have defined our database prop. We have created our separate database, but we haven't created it. So we have newly downloaded it because in our previous videos when we are learning Hibernate basics, we have established this database connection properties. So now instead of using Postgre, we are using separate database customer DB. So now what are we going to do is we need to create this because this DB does not exist. So we will come to our Postgres. We have our database. Earlier we were using, if you haven't watched the video, you can go and watch out. Sign up customer data. So now we are going to create, and it was under default which was Postgres. Now we are going to create one more database. Create database customer DB and we'll save it. It's a lot easier because even in real world you will not even work with this default database. Always will be a separate database. So for now we will also cover separate schema, but for now we'll use public schema, default schema. So now we have defined our new we have created our new database. So now just quickly come to our package and create some packages. So there are two ways of doing it. You can create package when it is necessary, or you could upfront create package. So it totally depends upon working style, but you need to have your package sorted. So our first package will be, the very basic package will be entity. So our package is entity. So now we will also create some more packages so that DAO package. So inside DAO we will have two sub packages or two sub folder you could say. One is our inter, which is interface, in short we say inter, and another is Okay, I will write it implementation. So whenever we have our DAO interface layer, we also have our implementation. So we keep it in a separate folders so that it look nice or better design. And the most famous package is controller. So our package structuring is done. So now we will create our, we'll close these two. What are we going to do it? We are going to create our class, entity class. So our first class will be customer details, customer detail sign up. Also, because we will create, because this is sort of a mini project, we will learn a lot of things. We'll create one more class which will be customer detail login. So we have our two entities, so we'll be having two tables. So what property we need to annotate it with entity, and then we need to define our table. We cannot, because we have learned, we have understand why we no need to use class name as table name, because it's not right. Customer underscore detail underscore sign up. So let us complete this, then we will come back to our login. We have to repeat the same thing, but it's good. You can use Lombard, but if you are starting, if you are new, you need to understand basics. ID, we have covered all these things in our previous videos. Our earlier we used generation type. Now we are going to use generation type auto. We already used table one in our Hibernate video. We will use something different this time. Now we will define our field private long user ID, private string user name. I think if you are following along with me, that would be better, because we will learn. So just watching to increase the speed, playback speed, so that you can easily revise before interview. That is also better, because in an interview they ask you to design all these things. Okay, so let us also do one more thing, is that define our column name, so that, yeah, so our column name will be sign up underscore user underscore ID, column underscore name, that will be sign up underscore user underscore username. Then our column will be name equal to sign up underscore email underscore ID. Column Perfect. Let us quickly check sign up. Okay, looks good. So now let us do the basics. The bootstrap code. We just had our, because why need it? We need because no argument constructor, because it uses reflection API. Then quickly generate our argument constructor. Let us with the ID. Okay, let us quickly. We have our constructor. We need our getter setter, and then we need our string. Okay, our sort of entity is ready. Now just quickly complete our customer detail login as well. So come here, define it as an entity, define it as a table, provide the name, quickly find all the fields. I will ID. Go. Login time. Logout time. User ID. Let us just quickly confirm that our user ID is long. Yes, you need to make sure that whatever you can define a string, but yeah, you need to make sure that you are defining it correct. Now this is an ID. Our strategy is okay. So now what we will do is, because you need to understand, because in our Hibernate video we see how table, we use table basically. We did not go in deep that how the values are created, but we use table and we see how it is creating the values. In our this videos, we are using auto, and then for this we are using suppose identity. So till now, or maybe so far, we have covered 3 type of generation ID, because this is detail when they go in interview, right? They will ask you what this do, what this do. So if you haven't used it, you cannot answer it. You will not know the difference between these IDs, and you can simply do whatever you want to do. Okay, moving forward, let us define our column names. Column names are optional, as we have discussed in our previous video. Login user underscore name. This will be a long video, so if you follow along, because it will be better, you can watch as many number of times, increasing your playback speed. Are we going to? Okay, we don't need that. Ignore it. Column name. So we are going to let us log out, login, log out. Just we no need that. And then we will define okay. So let us quickly verify it is sign up user ID and this is login. Okay. So now let us create no form constructor, no argument constructor. Create constructor, and then quickly what are we going to do is string. Okay, so our entity is ready. Okay, our entity is ready. Perfect. So now what we need to do, once our entity is ready, what we need to do, there are two ways of doing it. One is that either we would have created our table manually or let our Spring handle table creation. Okay, so we have done our entity and then we will run our application. What are we going to do? We will run our application. But quickly do one more thing before doing that, because we have changed the port and our database is running in 8080. The experienced people will know this, but this is for those who are new, who don't know, or who are even not coming from some different environment. So let us run our application and see what will happen. We will run it. So let it run. Okay, you see that we got an error. And identify and stop the process that is listening to port 8080 and configure the application to listen to another port. This is important when in future we are going to understand networking concept for our system design. This will be helpful when I am going to design it. So right now in the same server, my laptop or my PC or your PC is on one server. Consider it as one server. That particular server hosts an application on localhost, my server IP, and then on 8080 application. So if an application is running in same IP with this port, you cannot rerun any other application. That's the very basic concept of system design. Okay, we cannot run two applications with using same IP or same port. You need to have either different port or you need to have different IP. That's the basic concept of system design. So if you're a student, you don't know this concept and people don't talk about it. They just say you that you go and change the port number and it will work. So why this is happening? You cannot run same application within same port within same IP. You need to change either one of them. We'll cover this in detail, but you learn something new, which is something different. Okay, before that we also go and verify whether our tables were created or not. So let us quickly refresh it. Go to our schema tables. So it was not created. Perfect. Now let us change to 9090 and let us rerun our application. Come to our application, right click, rerun. So we will rerun our application and we see what happens. Okay, our application started at 9090. Okay, now no error. So we will refresh it, refresh our database. Okay, our table is not created. So now let us see what went wrong. Our table is not created. Okay, you know why tables are not created? Very basic mistake has been made. If you remember, if you remember that we are missing one thing here. What we are missing? We are missing one very big property, which is Spring JPA dot Hibernate. Spring JPA Hibernate dot DDL hyphen auto hyphen update. That's why it hasn't created our. So we'll stop our application. Sometimes you don't know, you miss out some certain things, and then it's very. But we will rerun our application. I click on debug actually, but it's okay. Debugger is not enabled, so there shouldn't be any issue. Okay. So now let us come to our database and refresh it. Perfect. So our tables are created. So we tested one of our negative scenario. if properties is not present, because sometimes you are doing in your dev, but when you deploy application in UAT or staging environment or SIT environment, and you notice, oh, my tables are not created, what went wrong? You need to make sure that whether that property existed or not. Perfect. So all those columns also created the way we want to create it, and yes, all the columns got created the way we want to create it. Perfect. So we will just do one more thing, is that we will open our query tool. So now you can see that we have our folder table with no records. Okay, this is our sign up table, this is our login table. The video is getting longer, so it's okay. So we have both the tables got created. Perfect. So we will minimize our logger, we'll close this, and then our next step is we'll close these two. So what is our next step is that we need to define our interface, our DAO layer. So let us quickly create our interface. What is our interface? Is customer DAO. Perfect. And we are going to define our method in here is list till sign up. We are going to do sign up first, because you need to sign up first, then only you can log in. So, and we will have our method findAll. So we will import our list customer findAll. Okay, our DAO done. Now we need to define our what we need to define our implementation. So we will create our class, which will be customer DAO JPA import. Perfect. And we will annotate this as a repository, and then we will define our EntityManager as a field, and then we are going to do what are we going to do? We need to do constructor injection. We are not doing field injection. Huh? Public customer DAO implementation. We'll create our constructor, and we will have our entity manager inject entity entity manager. Then our entity manager equals to inject entity manager. We have defined our constructor injection. So now let us override our method, which is findAll method. Public, it will return a list, which will be customer detail sign up. And then typed query. So what will be customer detail sign up, and then we are going to create query from where, not our label name, we need our class name, because this is JPQL. Customer detail sign up, then it will be off, and then it will return me customer detail type query get result set. So this will return me, it is throwing me an error. Let us see what it is throwing me. So you know why it is showing me error? Because I haven't implemented my interface. See, that error is gone. So we have done our DAO layer. Now we are going to come our controller. So what are we going to do is create our controller class. So our controller class name will be customer detail controller. So our controller is what? REST controller, and then our request mapping will be it will be an API. There is an API. Now let us, so that you could see, let us define our, or you could say inject our customer DAO and then auto wire it into our constructor injection. You need to understand, if you haven't watched the previous video, you can go and watch it out. And if you're watching till now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, it will motivate me. Inject customer DAO, customer DAO equals to inject customer DAO. We have done our constructor injection, which is recommended by Spring Team. Now we need to do GetMapping, value, and what are we going to define our value is our API. V1 flag to customers. Okay, then we define our public modifier list, customer detail, sign up, and then this will return me what? Customer detail dot log. Let us import it. Okay, but here is a catch, right? Oh, we haven't stopped our server. We can stop it, but there is a one thing, right? It is connecting to our findAll method, which has one implementation, and this is its implementation, which will query the records from our this table, which is what? This is what? This is our entity, which is connecting to this table. But we do have our table, but we don't have any records in our table. So we need to also insert few records for us to, because for now we are covering get we are using get mapping first, so which has to get first, because we haven't using post mapping yet. It will cover in our upcoming videos. So post mapping will insert the record and then we can view that record, but for now we are going to just quickly insert it from our database. So let us quickly go to our script and let it create me a bootstrap script. Okay, close this. Okay, perfect. So now let us do one thing, is that create our first. So I am a fan of, as I said earlier, we are using a lot of Elon Musk. Space.x. Okay, then we need to define sign up first name, which is Elon. Then we have Elon Musk, and then we have his ID, and then we have his username. Elon.Musk. So let us insert it. See, it insert. Okay, it inserted successfully. Let us do one more insertion, and then this insertion will be Elon Musk. Will Okay, perfect. Let us insert this also, and thus let's query our sign up table. So we have 2 records in our database, in our table. So now our structure and our connection is complete. We have our, let us close it and then we will understand the flow. So we have our controller, which is a REST API. In our controller we have endpoint, which is pointing to findAll method, which is a method in our interface, and then we have our implementation of this method, which is querying it from the customer detail sign up table, which is, this is the table name in our database. So now let us run our application, and so we will run our application and we will see what happens. So it is starting. Okay, so no issue happened. It started at 9090. So we will come to our Postman. Okay, if you have watched my video since beginning, you will know that since before learning Hibernate, we are using our Postman for our REST API and concept, but now we did that in our 02 project. Now we are at 04 project. So 03 project was meant for that. So we will quickly do one thing, is that we will duplicate this thing, and okay, so we will just change it to customer endpoint. Okay, and we will remove it. We don't need it for now, and we will also rename it, because now we are at project 4, and yeah, we are not using project 2 anymore. You can go and watch previous videos. It will help you if you are new, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. So we have also have little bit of changes in our endpoint. Earlier we were using decimal annotation. Now we are not using that. Our endpoint is v1 customers. We will just copy it. Okay, and we will just replace it with this. Okay, and also correct here as well. Perfect. So now let us run it and see what happens. It is saying that it is not found. Yeah, why it is not found? Because we have our request mapping layer in our controller, which is an API. We also need to give this as well, then only it will work. Perfect. Did you see? So we are returning records from our database, whatever is present in here. Now let us play a bit. Let us insert one more record in our database. No coding, we will not touch our code. We'll insert our record in here. We will see. Okay, let us quickly insert it. So we have inserted our record, and a new user has signed up in our company, which is Sam, and now it will be. So now let us fire our API again. Perfect. So did you see that it is connected to our database? So our REST API is connected to our database and fetching the record from our table. So that's only for GetMapping. We have so many things to cover. We will have this a small project which is will build login and sign up functionalities and all. If you haven't subscribed to my video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.